Hi guys, welcome to Beautiful Kingdom. This is episode 14 and today we're looking at breeding behaviour. My tank finally has breeding behaviour. It's very exciting. What's happening? What does it look like when they're breeding? What should we look out for when we're looking for breeding behaviour? Also, on top of that, we're looking at Tubifex worms. So some of you probably have that already. Some of you may not have heard of them. Some of you may not have ever seen them. So we're going to be looking at those today and seeing the pea puffers eating those like spaghetti. And lastly, we're going to see one of the cutest things you're ever going to see with pea pufferfish, and that's them just after they've had a little nap, after they've slept. So we'll see them in their little sleeping positions looking super, super cute. So it's an action-packed episode. Hope you enjoy.
So about 2 days after my last episode on the hierarchy of my pea pufferfish group here, of 8 of them, this guy you're seeing now, Romeo, and you're going to see why he was called Romeo, ironically, started chasing the females a lot, more so than I've seen before, and he was getting very, very frisky. And then later on in the evening, I noticed that Grace, who is this puffer here, a female, was actually showing behaviour around this plant in the corner of the tank, and she was looking around the bottom of it. She was kind of giving it the once-over, almost looking like, is this a good place for a nest? Whilst Romeo continued showing his dark line and trying to chat up the other females. Trying to get in there with BFP, but BFP was having none of that. That's big friendly puffer to you guys. Whilst poor Grace here was looking after the nest. Now you can't see her that clear maybe here. She's at the back of the plant. Oh no, is she the right hand side? Yeah, there she is on the right hand side. Looking so cute. It's amazing watching them. It's like having your own little nature program in your house, as you guys I'm sure enjoy loads about your tanks as well. And while she was looking at this nest spot, trying to figure out if it's a good place, there's a bit of chasing going on there from Romeo to one of the other males, I think it is. He was chasing any male off that's coming around that plant. He was chasing them off as far away as he could get them and constantly hounding them away from that plant area. So Grace was looking at this plant, and then she's looking like she's making space inside it amongst the roots. So while she's sitting here looking very broody, there you can see in the background is Romeo chasing away any potential threats to his lady friend here. But it's super interesting, it's fascinating. I've never had this kind of nesting behaviour before amongst the pea puffers. Anyone who's seen this before amongst theirs, please do comment on the bottom in this video here, just telling me what your experiences were with the breeding. Were you able to have pea puffer babies in the tank? How many survived out of the eggs? Are the eggs easy to see, easy to spot, easy to get to hatch? Is it easy to keep the babies healthy into growing up into the adult phase? But yes, Grace was going inside of the roots, looking around, and she was almost looking like she was picking at points, areas inside of it, clearing it out. And I've never seen that before. It's so interesting. And she's the only female to do this as well out of all of the 8 pea puffs. I've got 3 females, 5 males, but her and Romeo are the only ones who really seem to have paired off like this. And Romeo was chasing everyone around the tank, making sure that no one's getting near his lady. So I'm hoping I might get some eggs out of this, and hoping to get some babies. Also, if anyone's had babies, is it okay to have the pea puffer babies in with other adult puffers, or would they try and kill them or eat them? It's just kind of new experiences for me on this one. It's so interesting, so fascinating to see that level of natural behaviour in the tank. And she's always plump as well. Whether she's eating or not, she's always plump. So she's very healthy, she's eating well, as is Romeo. So they seem to have paired off and kind of got themselves a nice little romantic spot here for having some babies. So fingers crossed we see some pea puffer baby action. And what we're seeing now is Grace going into the actual plant. As I say, picking out the bits from the middle, trying to clear it out. I didn't see her deposit any eggs as such, but I've heard that they're so tiny they're almost impossible to see unless you really got them in a kind of contrasting colour substrate or something. So I still don't know, almost 4 weeks later, whether she actually laid eggs. But she was certainly seeing and showing the behaviour of that. And the male constantly kind of coming in every so often and checking, making sure she's okay, making sure another male's coming along and trying to hit on his lady. More interesting behaviour here is coming into view is Scar, one of the other male pea puffers, and having a good old look at Grace, seeing what she's doing, seeing if he can get in there kind of thing. And then out of nowhere, at the top of those leaves, you'll see Romeo coming through telling him to get lost. So he's really protecting that area so well and making sure that no one gets near his eggs or his lady. Here's another example of breeding behaviour. I think this is Romeo going for Grace again. It might even be BFP, I think that's Grace. So you're seeing there the behaviour where they're rubbing up against each other. And the male will follow the female for ages and ages and ages. And, you know, it can be almost to the point of harassment, to be perfectly honest. But she doesn't seem that against it. As you can see here, I mean, she is swimming away, but you can see that she's not totally against it. And he loves rubbing up against her. Going out of sight for a bit, Nookie. And he's gone. Having a look around there, trying to find her again. So for those of you who haven't seen these before, these are Tubifex worms. Now, these are absolutely devoured by my pea puffers. You can get white worms, black worms, obviously bloodworms, and these guys, these wriggly guys that kind of stick into a bunch rather than spread out across the bag. They'll cling to each other. These are called Tubifex worms, and I will show you these pea puffers eating them and enjoying them massively. So I dropped a whole clump into the tank. Now you're seeing pretty much all the pea puffers almost in one shot there. That's BFP, the round one. As you can see, as they get more and more into these worms, the round stomachs start to show, getting very full from all these worms. Now, when you're feeding these particular Tubifex worms, you have to make sure that you rinse them out with tap water. Tap water is absolutely fine to rinse these guys out because they come from sewage areas. They actually are collected from sewage areas. So when you get them in a bag or whatever you collected them in from the shop, make sure when you get home you get tap water. You pour out the water that's in with them already because it will stink. That's one downside to these guys. If you leave them for more than a day or two without changing the water with them, it will stink, absolutely stink. It's a horrible smell. But as long as you rinse them out every day or two, the water stays pretty fresh. They'll stay alive for quite a long time actually as well. So yes, you pour out the water that's already in with them, then you replace that with tap water, kind of shake the bag slightly, and then pour that out. Do that 4, maybe 5 times, and then the water will be really clear with them. And then after that, every day or two, replace the water that's in with these Tubifex worms in the bag, and that keeps them fresh. And they can live for quite a while. They can live about a week or two actually if you keep changing the water. And as you can see from this video, the puffers absolutely love them. They love bloodworms. These guys enjoy brine shrimp in particular as well. A lot of brine shrimp they'll get through. And Daphnia, they do eat them, but they're not absolutely mad about them. Whereas Tubifex worms, as I found out, they just go mad for them, absolutely mad for them. And they'll eat and eat and eat and eat until their bellies are full. You only want a small pinch from these because you'll get them either in chew packets or where I get them from, they'll literally give you a portion in a bag, as you saw from the picture. The video that I showed you just a moment ago before this. So you want to put a small pinch of them because even a small pinch has a lot more worms than you'd expect. And once they go in, I keep finding this, I'm having to kind of readjust the portion sizes. As you can see here, they're getting so much food from it. And I think, I don't know if I put enough in there. And it turns out I put too much or, just about enough. And their belly's getting so packed in with all these worms. And they'll come back to them as well later on during the day. And I find if I give them this kind of a portion, that's actually enough for one day. In the evening, even if they come to the front, I'll still say they've got really round bellies from a Tubifex worm feeding. So, if you're probably pushed for time in terms of feeding, maybe you've got a busy schedule, putting a few of these in will feed them up really well for a whole day, I would suspect. Like I say, at the end of the day, they don't seem to be particularly hungry, although they will come to the front because they'll always look for food. But these worms will fill them up really nicely. As you can see, when you're putting a bunch of worms in, when I feed them bloodworms, I have to do it one at a time to make sure I'm only feeding them the live ones, not the dead ones from the packet. With these, There's no aggression really. They just come and pick out as and when, because they can see there's plenty of worms in there as well. So if you've got a group of pea puffers like this, if you can, it's very good to put in a whole bunch of food at once. Because if you're feeding one or two at a time, like I have to do with bloodworms, that's when you start seeing bickering. They might catch each other with a bite, trying to get the same worms, stuff like that. But with these guys, when there's Tubifex worms in a tank, they go mad for it, and very peaceful when they eat. So lastly, but by no means least, these guys look so cute when they sleep. I think I came back one night and I turned the living room light on at first so they didn't get blinded by the tank light straight away. And then after maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it was, I turned the tank light on and they were still in their little sleeping positions. And look at their little faces. Look at their little faces. Oh, the little eyes going out. Why have you turned the light on? We were quite happily asleep. And this one, they just rest on the leaves when they're sleeping. They're a bit pale because the light's been off for that day and quite a few hours during the night. When I got back, I had to feed them before I went to bed. So I gradually woke them up, fed them, gave them an hour or two to kind of simmer around, and then put them back to bed. But it's so cute when you see them after having a little nap, as it were. It's just one of the cutest, most adorable things about pea puffer fish. I don't think many people talk about it, but honestly, it's one of the best things about them. As you come back at night time, you turn the living room light on, and you'll start spotting them in different positions.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode 14 of Pea Puffer Kingdom. Certainly enjoyed making it. There's a lot of new interesting behaviours coming out of the fish now. They're getting to more maturity. I've had them for about 5-6 months. They're already quite big when I bought them. For pea puffer size, that is, of course. So hopefully we'll see some babies at some point. But yeah, if you've liked the video, you found it useful, just found it fun to watch, then do subscribe, like and comment, all of that good stuff. We're at 299 subscribers at the moment, so it'd be great to tick over to 300. And that'd be amazing. Thanks so much for supporting this channel, guys. It means a lot. And happy puffing. Did I just say that?